practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate everyday people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on what we love to do, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, from kindness to healthy habits and simple happiness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you are inspired by today's show. And today I want to share with you the roller coaster ride I've been on these past few days. Oh my goodness, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the frustration and the exhilaration. It's been palpable. And I've not been on a physical roller coaster in years. You've been hearing me talk about the different phases of introducing my latest book over these past 8 months, Chronicles of Hope, The Collective, Book 2. Well, from the countless hours of intuitive midnight writing to hundreds of intensely creative hours with 2 amazing editors who brought my writing to life with clarity, enhancing the meaning of the messages, to the precision detail involved in formatting the text, making sure every comma, semicolon, indent, font style was correct, to this crazy technological phase of introducing the ebook to the world via social media channels and connections with friends and friends of friends. Each phase has been met with a combination of tenuous challenge and pure joy. Remember, it was the messages from the wise ones that inspired me to host this good news radio show. Ray, the patron god of Atlantis, said, "Amplify the voices of the good. There are more good people out there than bad. However, the negative is louder, stronger, and drowns out the voices of the good. Shine the light on the good." So, we started this Inspiring Hope radio show to shine the light on all the good people around me and around you. And you've been with me on this journey to amplify the positive people, the positive voices, as well as bring this second book to reality. So because you've been with me, I want to share with you first. You get to hear this first. I am ever so excited to share with you that yesterday, after a time of getting people's attention and a very intense day of social interaction, with a positively charged, seasoned coach, Rebecca Hall-Gruyer, I want to thank her. This book, Chronicles of Hope, The Collective, Book 2, reached #1 bestseller in the international category, which is the highest ranking possible. Can you believe that? In only 14 hours after we released it yesterday on 88 Lionsgate. It's also ranked as #1 in 17 individual categories. I am ever exhausted, #1, and so proud of this baby that we birthed, together with an amazing team of individuals that I refer to as Team Hope, and all of you who purchased the book and shared it. To share my excitement, we're extending the $1 rate to celebrate on this date. So this #1 international best-selling book is available as an ebook on Amazon for $1 for the rest of today as well. Tomorrow the rate goes up. So buy it today, share the invitation with your friends, and let us know your thoughts. You can find the link for your international code at chroniclesofhope.net. Click the Buy Now button, and it will give you the links. Remember, you can download the book and read it on any device. You don't need a Kindle. And for you soft cover readers, it will be available in tangible form soon. I cannot tell you how excited I am. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being with me on this journey to bring hope to humanity, one person at a time. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. We're here every Sunday morning, shining the light on different people. And I want to share with you that there were many times while dealing with the challenges of technology that I was frustrated and could have given in to anxiety. But I've learned to reframe my thoughts, take a breath, go outside to ground in nature, call on my spiritual guides, our dear friends, to clear my energy and give me a boost when I get mired in the muddle. It totally works, guys. We just need to remember that there are benevolent and uplifting energies out there that want to help us succeed. We just need to ask. There are so many good people who are influenced by what they're hearing around them, and it causes them to be frightened. It's important to learn how to shift and pivot your thoughts, reframe your mind talk, and think of something positive. So right now, take a moment and breathe with me. Breathing in through your nose to a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. And breathe out for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. And breathe in again. And simply imagine being in a place you love, be it the beach, the forest, a lovely lake, or snuggled in your own comfy bed. What sounds do you hear? What smells or fragrances do you notice? What sights are before you? And how do you feel? Do you really feel it? Your mind is incredible. You can change your state of being just by using the power of your mind, your thinking, your imagination, your thoughts. Whenever you're worried, sad, frustrated, or annoyed with a situation, the computer, or another person, take a moment and escape into your own special place in your mind and really experience being there. You will shift into a peaceful awareness. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. We're here every Sunday morning. And today, I am delighted to be joined by a soul sister on this journey, a force for positive energy. Lisa Schermerhorn is a peak performance mindset coach, a master NLP practitioner, that's neuro-linguistic programming, how our words affect our thoughts, certified hypnotherapist, and energy medicine practitioner. Lisa says it takes the same amount of energy to be anxious as it does to be excited. So be excited. Lisa, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yay!
Hello there.
Hello, and welcome this morning. You're calling in from the beautiful, beautiful place in Vermont. I love your home.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it is quite beautiful. I feel very fortunate to live here.
Your place is totally like a complete retreat. I've been up there only once before and didn't want to leave. It is gorgeous. Beautiful vistas. It's like a log cabin nestled on the side of a mountain, and it's magical. So,
thank you.
Thank you for doing what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about who you are.
Well, let's see. I started on this journey about 20 years ago, and I would say I came into a place where I was really in a dark place, and I was struggling, and I was going into therapy 2 to 3 times a week, and nothing was helping me. And someone had suggested a woman named Karen Paulino to go see her. She was a hypnotherapist. And as I did some work with her, I started to feel better. And then I said, I want to do everything that Karen does. So I studied everything that she did, even with some of the people that she studied with, and then went on a journey of my own, and it's been this amazing, amazing experience of traveling around the world with master teachers and studying energy medicine and NLP, and just having the opportunity to really be of service and help others.
It is amazing how hypnosis works and NLP both are so they dovetail in my mind. I have similar background to you as a hypnotherapist and an NLP master practitioner. I love the techniques, and it is amazing to experience the transformation firsthand, and then to share that transformation with our clients. Isn't it a thrill?
It is a thrill, and what I've always been amazed is how quickly it
Yes.
happens. And I've had people come to me who said, I've been working on this issue for 20 years, and I can't believe that we got to the root cause in an hour and a half.
Exactly.
And it's all about. I always say one of the major things that I like to do is time travel for your emotions,
Right.
where you can't change the actual events that happen, but you can change the way you feel about it. And so when you can change your perspective, and another huge thing is the act of forgiveness.
Absolutely.
So when you can combine both and shift your perspective and use really forgive at a deep level, it will change your life. It'll transform your life.
And forgiveness is really not about the other person. That other person was in your life to teach you something, to show you something, to be a mirror. And that forgiveness is about letting go. I call it give it away. I don't want to carry this anymore. And then what is the learning? What is the lesson? What is the nugget that I have learned as a result of interacting with this situation?
No, it absolutely. And, one of the things I always say to my clients is imagine you're walking around with a backpack of bowling balls. Just put the bowling balls down.
Right.
Because when you put so much energy, oftentimes when we're in pain, we're putting 60 to 80% of our energy into something that's negative, that's not serving us.
Exactly.
And what if you were able to stop your focus on what you don't want and then change it to what you do want? And I love that metaphor. I use it with the athletes that I work with. I work with a lot of golfers. And when you're golfing, it always happens that whenever you say, I don't want the ball to go this way, guess where the ball goes? So you always want to focus on what you want. What's the end game? What's your goal?
You're exactly right. And I tell my clients that the subconscious mind does not register the word not. Don't think about the excitement I have about #1 bestseller. Don't think about the beautiful weather we're experiencing. Don't think about COVID-19. You have to think about it to not think about it. So shift your mind talk. Notice how you talk to yourself and remove the not words.
No, exactly. And I was watching a video of Simon Sinek. He does a TED Talk about finding your why, and he talks about the fact that the physical situation that your body creates when you're nervous is the same thing when you're excited. Your heart races, you're visualizing the future, and your hands get sweaty.
Exactly.
And so when you're focused on something you're nervous on, then switch it around and say, that's exciting. That's exciting. I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to be different when I get to the other side of this. It's going to transform me.
Absolutely.
And there's another woman, Olivia Reams, who did a TED Talk about anxiety, and she talks about, when you reach that ceiling, that place where you're afraid to do something or you have this anxiety, she said, don't be afraid to do it badly. And I love that.
Yes.
And because just start, because you can always fix it. But it's better than doing nothing at all.
Or accept it. Because what happens, I know I call myself a recovering type A. And what we get into that analysis paralysis. We're afraid to move forward because we're afraid of making a mistake. And what we have to do is just say, hey, just be yourself. It doesn't matter. The mistakes that we make show our vulnerability. And we're learning as we're growing and going. We just have to just do it.
Well, a perfect example of that was I have a 1,200 square foot deck.
Yeah.
And it needed to be refinished, and the cost of it was going to be exorbitant to do it. And I thought, well, let me give it a try. But I had never worked with power tools before, so I was terrified. And so a friend of mine who's a woodworker said, here, I'll lend you my sander, a belt sander.
Right.
And it felt daunting, and I bought all the tools that I needed, and I had knee pads and ear protection and eye protection. And up until the moment I put that sander down, my heart was racing. I was visualizing me screwing up my deck. My hands were sweaty, and as soon as I put it down, I'm like, this is really cool.
Yeah, I can do this.
Yeah, and I documented the whole journey. It was 12 videos.
Yeah.
But I'm not the same person that I was before I started. The amazing thing of what happens it's always the fear of the fear. And once you get past it, now I'm looking at all these other projects I'm working on around my house, and I'm enjoying it, and I love it.
And I'm the same. That is such a challenge. That's such a sense of accomplishment that you accomplished something that you didn't know you could do. And that's...
Exactly. So using something called reframing,
right?
When you look at something that feels really daunting, and then you can turn it around and make up a new story about it. I'm going to be excited. And you work with your brain has 5 different major brain frequencies, and when we're born, we have this state of delta, which is a very large wave, and then theta, when we're in about elementary school, is not quite as large. But if you think about what children have to absorb, what they have to learn in mass quantities, sight, sound, language, feelings, emotions, colors. It's massive. And then by the time we get to beta, where we are now, the frequency is much smaller. And we absorb, especially from 0 to 7 or 8, a tremendous amount of belief systems. What the environment that we're in really programs us at such a deep level. So if there were issues with scarcity, or there was any trauma or any belief systems that you were told as a child, they get programmed at a very young age. And so we actually end up acting those out as adults and getting on that loop, that hamster wheel of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, because we're based in that programming. So when we can use NLP or we can use hypnosis, all we're doing is relaxing people. I always say people, say, oh, you're going to make me quack like a duck. I'm like, I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. And so this is about going back to those states and releasing the negative belief systems so that you can be the authentic you.
Exactly.
Because how many times do we walk around, with other people's expectations? I'm doing this because someone else wanted this for me, not what I wanted.
And that's what happens with a lot of early programming, is the parent has their own set of limitations, and they unwittingly transfer those sometimes it's bigotry, sometimes it's preference, it's bias, it's limitations to their children, and that and so as the child explores and questions, many times they will question their parents, but they may be met with rebuke. They're met with, this is the way we do things. Don't ask. So when a child is limited like that, then they get stuck in this mindset of I can't do this. And I know you and I both work with that can-do attitude. Yes, let's reframe this. What if you could do this? And it's the same thing that I've done with this book. I never imagined I was going to be a writer. I was, I've used all of my different skills at the different phases of this project and just focused on, okay, right now, this is what I have to focus on. Just like you were working with refinishing your deck, to think about everything you had to do would be daunting, but you took it one step at a time. First, I have to get everything off the deck. Now I've got to repair places, maybe happen some nails, but there were steps, and everything is a process. And if we can imagine that.
Yeah, and you know what? The other part of it is, I learned to look at the gifts of those programmings.
Yes.
Because no one else knows those pains. that pain. No one knows those wounds better than you.
Absolutely.
So when you overcome them, that becomes your power. I would say that's your superpower.
That's right.
Because you know it better than anyone else, and that's why you have the ability to teach it.
Absolutely.
When you're authentically in your power and you overcome those major obstacles and take the courage. And one of my teachers said to me, the sad thing about life is people go through, imagine your challenge as Mount Everest, and getting to the pinnacle is your goal. Most people will stop when they're 90% there. They're almost there, and then they stop and they give up. Yeah. And I could never do that. And that's one of the things that I push people. And I push people out of their comfort zone because that's what I do for me.
Right.
And I'm an example of that, as you are an example of that. You know, suddenly becoming, an international bestseller. I mean, I've watched you, I've known you over the course of several years of watching you go through this process and seeing what has come of this and the information that needs to get out there. How important that your information in your book and how hard you work to overcome that and get that information out.
And you're right. You know, I think that the people who are ready to make a change for themselves, those are the ones that have the courage to do so. You have to have the courage, the tenacity, the determination. It's not a magic bullet that you're just suddenly I'm going to be this. No, it takes climbing that mountain one hill at a time, but again, focusing on that hill. And in the vision, the future vision is there, but one step, one day at a time, and having the courage and the determination to move forward.
Right, and we can apply the reframe that we were talking about before of being excited. Look, no one wants to be in the middle of a pandemic. No one does. No one is enjoying this right now. But what I made a decision for was starting in March when I was suddenly all alone in the middle of, 6 feet of snow in the side of a mountain and then, suddenly being isolated. And I had friends of mine say to me, "Oh, I'm so worried about you. You're all alone." And I said, "You don't understand. It stopped me. It halted me and made me go inward and made me think about where my life was headed and how I wanted to make changes." And so what I did was I started to take these amazing online courses and learn things. I connected with people on Zoom doing these, and met some really wonderful people. I started walking in nature every day. I was walking anywhere, and still am, from 3 to 10 miles a day, and I would socially distance with my friends. Getting out in nature was one of the most critical things that I needed to do.
Now, also, didn't you bring a new person into your life? Miss Lily?
Oh, yes. So I lost, yes. Well, I like to refer to, I lost my dog of almost 17 years in February, and I didn't think I'd ever have another dog. Right. And I ended up adopting a 10-year-old lab American Bulldog Pointer mix who is hysterical. This dog brings me so much joy. She carries this lamb chop baby in her mouth everywhere we go. We go on walks, and she has brought me tremendous joy. So thank you for mentioning her.
Oh, my goodness. And I know you post, I follow you on Facebook. And let me just interrupt for just a second. Listeners, you're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. And I'm speaking today with Lisa Schermerhorn. And Lisa, how can people, I follow you on Facebook, how can people get a hold of you? Because I tell you what, your sharing of your journeys with Lily are just, they touch my heart. They bring me such joy because, you talk about Little Lamb Chop and then you're going to have to tell the story after you tell people how to get a hold of you of the other lamb chop that showed up.
Oh, yes, that's so funny. So anyway, yes, my last name is a little difficult to spell and pronounce, but it's Lisa Schermerhorn, SCHERMERHORN, and it's LisaSchermerhornCoaching.com, which is my website. You can also, if you're on Facebook, you can friend me at Lisa Schermerhorn. I think it's actually I have two pages. I have Lisa Schermerhorn Coaching, which is my business page, and then my personal page is Lisa Friedman, Friedman Schermerhorn. And I also have LinkedIn. And
they can
I
get
have
all
a partner.
they can get all of that on your website, right? They
Yes,
can
on
find
my
all the links.
website.
Perfect.
And I have a partner, Kevin Martin, who's also an amazing NLP practitioner. He's a master NLP practitioner and a trainer. And we do coaching, we do group coaching, we do individual coaching, and we do training. And it's been a tremendous honor. And the fact that we're all on Zoom now has allowed me to do work with, I just had a session this week with someone in Australia.
Exactly.
You get to work with people all over the world. I feel even more connected now. But the story about Lily is I was panicked because we couldn't find her lamb chop, and the wind had blown it off my deck. So I quickly went online and ordered a new one and didn't check the size. And UPS delivers this giant box a couple days later, and it was about 3 feet tall. And I open it up, and there's this massive, giant lamb chop, and she literally will carry that one too. And she brought it over to me last week. She wanted to go for a walk with it. That's the same size as her.
Oh my goodness! I love our animals. I from what I understand, yesterday was National Love Your Cat Day or something like that. And I have kitty love. I'm a kitty lover, and I love other people's dogs. They're a little bit more work than I sign up for, but I know that many people that's one of the blessings of this pandemic. Many people are going out and bringing home pets. So the shelters they have less pets that are looking for homes than ever. And I think that's wonderful because our pets, these animals, are so unconditionally loving, and they bring us such joy. These antics, don't you wish you could just get in their minds and see what they're thinking? It's just great.
I don't know about that one. I don't know what my dog thinks of me right now, but
yeah.
No, yeah. She is all love. They're pure love.
So tell us a little bit about what has inspired you, or what do you suggest to others to stay upbeat and inspired, especially during this really, really difficult time?
So one of the most important things to do is breathe.
Yeah. And
you did it perfectly when you opened the show, was that the circular breathing where you breathe in and we have this when you breathe deeply into below your belly button, you're actually tugging on what we call the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is attached to the parasympathetic nervous system. Can you believe I just got through that without stumbling?
Good job. That's right.
I sound so official. Anyway, when you breathe like that, you're actually triggering your nervous system to calm down.
That's right.
So deep breathing is critical no matter what. And you can breathe. You have to breathe. So there's no excuses on that one. Getting out in nature and walking. And, you can accuse people of being tree huggers, but if you meditate and you have an opportunity to sit at the base of a tree, put your spine up against the back of a tree and meditate, and it's beautiful. They will actually pull, you can ask them, they'll pull all the negativity out. It's like that they take the carbon monoxide and transform it into oxygen. They do the same thing with your negative energy, your negative thoughts. Spend time in nature, spend time with trees, and meditate.
I have to laugh at that. You're absolutely right. But I was just with my husband in the Catskills, and at this little town we were at, there was a statue of Rumpelstiltskin. And is that right? And he was the one that went out and he laid against a tree and fell asleep for 100 years. And it was the tree that he just absorbed into that, got into that trance state.
Well, if that happens to me, just please make sure that my hairdresser gets over every 5 weeks.
I tell you what, I was so grateful the first time I saw mine after the first several weeks of being home, that she is a blessing to me on many, many levels, and my hairdresser, my good friend. But I also know for myself that many people who have been going through this, we've all been going through this together, and those that have been able to look at, how is this affecting my life? What can I do to change? What do I need to do to adapt to a new, what we would call the new normal? And like you, I've completely gone virtual now. I've set up a home office. I'm seeing all of my clients, and I'm booking out for weeks now. People are comfortable now using Zoom. They've shifted into a new state of awareness. And you're right, I can connect with people. I just plugged in a nice big monitor. It's like, oh my God, they're actually life-size in front of me now. So we have to learn to adapt. And as we adapt, then we thrive.
We do. And the other thing that I forgot to mention that's really critical is cut back on watching the news.
Oh, big time.
I understand that we all have to stay informed, but the 24-hour news cycle is too much.
Absolutely.
It's too much for our nervous system, and the amount of fear that is being pushed out on the news is just, it's too much. We can't handle that because there is a lot of good that's happening. There is a lot of good.
There is.
So try and read a good book. Watch a comedy.
Read Chronicles of Hope, the collective.
Yes.
Download it, read it, because that whole purpose is to bring messages of hope to humanity. And
yes, we need it. People need it so much. There's so much fear and so much anxiety, and people getting angry at people, for their political views and not wearing a mask or wearing a mask. And you know what? We're all going to the same place where we all want to be in the state of love. This is all a state. I have a dear friend, Jennifer, who has a nonprofit, Come Together International, and she's all about educating and learning about people of all different races. And she just had a friend of hers who's Argentinian, and they cooked online, and she's invited me to make my matzo ball soup this week. So I'm going to be on her cooking, on her show.
Yeah. And you can almost smell it, when you really get into it, you can smell it. It's wonderful. Yeah.
But it's important that we educate ourselves about not only are we different, but we're the same. We are the same. We all want the same thing. We all want peace. We all want love, and we want everyone to get along.
And Lisa, you and I
both. Your background is.
You and I both have done extensive world travel. So I know that in my experience with traveling the world, what I see are different cultures, different people, but exactly what you said. Down deep, we all just want to live, love, and belong. We're all the same.
Yes. And we need to remember that.
Yeah.
So when you start to get angry at someone for posting something, just go inward and say, you know what? This person is scared, just like I am. This person is going through the same thing. And go into a place of compassion and understanding instead of labeling. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing. It's like, oh, you have this political belief, so you must be this. Mm-hmm. Or you are this
ethnicity. I hear you.
ethnicity, so you must believe this. Mm-hmm. And it's all about, us really engaging and understanding that we are all one.
And being open connected. To listen to someone else instead of trying to force. Yeah. What did you think about the book? Can you share? Because you've just been reading it. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear your fresh thoughts on the book.
Well, it was interesting. The greatest thing was having come from Egypt and learning about all the Egyptian deities, and then having Ra channeled right there, and having the information about what's the
So,
oh my goodness! I'm doing it.
This is the patron god Re from Atlantis.
Ray. Yeah, from Atlantis. Yes, thank you.
So he preceded the Egyptian god Ra of Egypt, but they're kindred. They're and the message
and
that he brought.
also the when you was it Archangel Samuel?
Yes. Samuel.
And Samuel, and how he's been misunderstood.
Absolutely.
How much he's been misunderstood, and that people think that he's truly evil, and he's not.
No, he brings challenge, but you and I both have been through a lot of challenge in our lives, and it was through that challenge that we grew, that we learned, that we blossomed. You know, the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, and it takes some effort to push through and become the butterfly. So he brings challenge, but it's through that challenge. I would not be doing what I'm doing now if it were not for the challenges that I've been through. So I bring my experience to the work that I do and my passion.
And that was my understanding of the downfall of Atlantis, was that people were bored. And things where everything was rosy, and they didn't have a lot to do to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And you need that growth.
Right.
You need that opportunity for growth and to be pushed out of your comfort zone.
Right. And as we grow, we experience different things, and we can help other people. And that's really what we're here for, is to be of service, bringing our own unique gifts. And each of us has our own skills. This is never about competition. It's about collaboration and cooperation. And you and I both have we're similar background as far as our professional. We see similar people. However, people who are called to see you are there because intuitively you know what to do to help them. And that's the beauty. As we share, we encourage, we support one another.
But there's another part to it, and one of the things I always say to people is, I'm not here to sprinkle fairy dust on you. You're not going to have a session with me and magically transform into a new person. I help plant seeds for you to exact change, because you have to make those changes in your life. You have to identify, who am I without this belief system?
Right.
You have to be willing to have the courage to make major changes in your life. Things aren't going to magically appear, and that's where the fear comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But what people need to understand is, it's just fear of the fear, because when you I remember the moment I put that belt sander down, I was terrified, and as soon as I did, I was like, that wasn't bad. This is actually fun.
I can do this.
I can do this.
Yeah.
So it's that pushing you out of your comfort zone and going through and plowing through that fear, and suddenly seeing how beautiful it is on the other side, and how we are our own worst enemy, how we hold ourselves back.
And you know what? I have to applaud you that you did that without someone coaching you, because you and I are both coaches, and most people who learn to do things like refinish decks learned under an apprentice, as an apprentice of of someone who had the skills and said, here's how you hold this, do it this way. And it probably wasn't until a couple of hours or days into it that you realized how best to handle that machine. But you blazed that path. And it's also kind of like the whole blazing neural pathways. The little while that you were doing it, it was awkward until you learned how, until you really pushed past that uncomfortable zone. And then it was like, I got this.
The greatest metaphor of that process for me was the fact that when I originally posted what I was doing, I had so many people giving me advice.
Really?
And it was all out of caring, but I had one person say, you need to get this sander. Then someone else said, no, you can't get that sander because of this. And then you need that sander. And then you need this kind of stain, and this is how you do it. And I got to a point where I sat down and I went into complete overwhelm.
Right.
And I sat down and I went inward and I said, what makes the most sense for me?
Right.
What works for me? And I had people really adamant about the fact that I needed to rent this giant sander and not use a belt sander and all that. And then I looked into getting this giant sander, and they're like, oh no, you can only use that indoors. That's for floors inside.
Right.
You can't use it outside, and it's 200 pounds. And how are you going to get it home? So I did my research, but then I just sat down and I said, you know what? This is going to work for me. It's going to be a lot more work, but I'm going to get through it. And I figured it out. And so, yes, as a leader, especially, it's always good to listen to other people's advice. But ultimately, in your life, you are responsible for the decisions you make. You're not here to blame anyone else. You can take advice, but ultimately, you make the decision from your heart, from that place, that knowing. And that's where you set your intentions from. And a lot of people, when people go for it in their life, the problem is that most people think everything should be linear. When you go into the cognitive left brain mind, X plus Y equals Z, A plus B equals C, and everything makes sense. When you start to work from your passion, the problem is, and it's based, and your decisions can be emotion-based, then they don't make sense, and then they appear messy, and people do not know what to do with it, and they get scared, and they will try and talk you out of your dream.
Mm-hmm. And so, there is no such thing as a wrong choice. There are
right.
They're all just learning opportunities. If you take a path and it's like, okay, this is now uncomfortable to me. What did I learn? Choose again. You don't have to stay on that path. You can shift it. And that's part of it, is having the courage to at least take a step forward. And where does that take me? Okay, now where do I go from here, one step at a time?
Exactly. No, it's, life, I wish life could be easier. It would make things so much, on the surface it seems like it would be so much better, but I am nowhere close to the same person I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 6 months ago.
Absolutely.
6 months ago.
Absolutely.
I'm not the same person.
Yeah.
And so I always think about, how can I challenge myself next? What can I do to push myself out of my comfort zone so I can become better and better serve humanity?
Absolutely.
How can I better be of service? And I surround myself with people of the same like mind. And that's the other thing is, when you surround yourself with toxic people, guess what happens to you?
Right. It spills over. Energy is contagious, and I speak a lot about that. And actually, the messages that come through, they talk a lot about energy. That we are energy beings, and when we surround ourselves with positive energy, we expand, we grow, we glow. When we surround ourselves with toxic energy, like listening to the negative news, it causes us to compress. It drains our energy. So what we have to do is choose what positive energies influence and impact and enhance our journey. And
exactly.
for me, with putting these messages out there, I had to struggle because I'm a very private person. Even doing this radio show took me courage to get out there and talk about my own my journey. However, when I recognized that I was given a mission, and my mission is to get these messages to humanity, it shifted my perspective of, it's not really about me. I am just a messenger for these messages that are intended to help others. So when I could wrap my head around getting myself into a place of being of service, that made all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
When I, even this whole, the book is a #1 bestseller international. That's exciting. Woohoo! However, it was a team of people who did that. And the main thing is that means that it's being seeded around the world. And that was the intent all along, was to get these messages in the hands of people around the world. And if it's seeded there and somebody's going to say, oh my goodness, you need to listen to this, then as the Anquieta says, just share with 2 people. Those 2 will share with 2 and 2 and 2. And before you know it, it will go around the world. And that to me is what I'm celebrating right now, is that there were enough people who saw value in this to purchase it even for $1, but to go through that process of purchasing, of sharing on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Twitter. Many people reposted, reshared. So all these people worldwide have purchased the book. And that just to me means, okay, I'm fulfilling my purpose. And that's what feels good. Yeah, #1 bestseller, that's exciting. But to me, in my heart, it's like, Yes, job well done. I've done what was called to do, and it's been work. Like you with that sander, I felt like whack-a-mole yesterday. Because there were people texting and emailing and calling, and how do I do this and how do I do that, and 5 different Facebook groups that I belong to, and LinkedIn and Twitter, and oh my goodness gracious, Mother McCree! But it was exhilarating, exhausting, and I slept well last night. It's good.
I'm sure you did, and I want to touch on one of the things that you talked about. And I don't think of you as an introvert, but something made that thought come up is that when people are afraid to put themselves out there, some of the most important people that when you're an extrovert, it's very easy to go out and put yourself out there.
Right.
For the most part, but people who are more private and people who are more introverted. I think they get a bad rap because they are the observers. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who sit and take in information. And it's really important to value those people and to find out from them what they're thinking, because they have incredible gems of knowledge. As an extrovert, I can say we love to talk, but the greatest information that comes in is when you listen.
That's right.
When you listen to what other people have to say, and when you can tap into those people who are quiet and ask them a couple questions, you're going to be really surprised at the gifts that they have to give you.
And that's what Aurora said in the Aurora session. She's the goddess of the dawn. She looks after her kin. Anyway, she said it is still intended that the meek shall inherit the earth. And the meek does not mean weak. Meek are the observers. The meek are the ones that don't have to force themselves on another. The meek are the ones that are saying, here, let me show you the way. Let through a sense of peace, gentleness, and open-heartedness. And that's, I'm excited about that. So in spite of the news and all the negative stuff that's out there, if I can hold in my heart that the intention is still that the meek, the good-hearted people will inherit our earth. And things are coming to light that are going to change. All of this negativity out there is an illusion. You and I both were on a Course in Miracles journey, and the Course in Miracles says that it's all an illusion. We have to not buy into that illusion. We've got to take a step back and go into our own heart and mind, and got that body awareness, and say, what is truth for me? And through that, we take our action. So you are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. And you can find all of these shows on my YouTube channel. You can get there by bit.ly, bit.ly/Lois Herman YouTube. All of my prior shows are there with so many inspiring people. I am, having this show has caused me to grow, to learn all of these different amazing people who in their own way are bringing love, light, and connection. And I learn from every single person that I get to interact with. I feel so blessed and so honored. And today we are speaking with Lisa Schermerhorn, and she is a peak performance mindset coach. And Lisa has had a lot of incredible experiences. You've studied in Italy. I want to know a little bit more about that. I don't know whether you're free to share, but you have had such incredible experiences with teachers around the world. And it sounds like we are of the same mind, that the main purpose is to find your truth and to walk your truth. Would you agree?
Yeah, I have been very fortunate in my life to learn how to listen to guidance.
Yes.
And to learn how to, or be guided, to surrender and let go. And I had a situation where, I want to say 3 years ago now, I had a bit of a heartbreak with someone that I was dating, and I was crying, and I was just despondent, and I was praying and asking for help, and suddenly I had this voice that came to me in my head, and it said, "Be not afraid. I'm here to teach you courage, strength, access to your own wisdom." I want you to, and I hadn't painted in years, and I sat down and I painted this lion, and I was like, that's strange. And then I didn't think anything of it. And then 2 weeks later, I had this woman who was teaching about Egyptian shamanism. And she was holding up this book with this Egyptian goddess, Sekhmet, on the cover. And there is, I walk up to her and I showed her this painting that I had done. And the painting was identical to Sekhmet.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
It was amazing. And then Sekhmet ended up taking me on a journey to a place called, it's a long story, Damanhur. And Damanhur University is outside of Milan, Italy. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to be there in June to do the third level course. And they built these incredible temples underground. And these massive, and they believe in art and creativity, that we are here to create. So
Yes.
they have beautiful art and music and dance and healing classes and all kinds of classes. And they travel internationally. They have a school in Boulder as well. But to have the opportunity to be in their temples and feel the energy there, it's quite remarkable. So I'm in the third level of my my alchemy program. And what was amazing was when I got there, I met my new roommate in the school, and she took me for a walk around the campus. And the first thing we did was she took me over, and she didn't know anything about me. And I saw the statue, and it was a statue of Sekhmet.
Sekhmet. Oh my gosh. Yes. I call those God winks, the little synchronicities of life that just make us smile. When we are tapped in, when we are connected, there are no coincidences. It's all synchronistic, and it feels right. And it just gives joy in your heart. And I know it's the same with this whole process of writing the book. Like you, I'm a really, if I'm engaged in something, I will follow guidance. And my guidance has been saying, all along, you need to do this. You need to do this. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Well, the crazy part of that was when it's a long story that we don't have time for.
We only have 1 minute left.
Oh, well, I'll let you go. If someone wants to hear the rest of my story, they can contact me, so go ahead.
Absolutely. So any last thoughts that you would like to share, Lisa Schermerhorn, with our listeners before we depart?
Well, I want to go into the fact that there's so much fear that's going on right now. There's so much anxiety that's going on right now. And that there are really beautiful, simple techniques that can pull you out of that state quickly.
Right.
There are ways to reframe and look at your life differently. So I really hope that people would be willing. I have group coaching that's very inexpensive. It's tremendous value. We're starting a new group this Wednesday. So if you're interested in that, it's $147 for it's 4 90-minute programs this coming month, including a 30-minute individualized coaching.
And they can reach
program.
you at Lisa Schermerhorn.
Schermerhorn Coaching.
Coaching.com.
Yeah, well, Lisa Schermerhorn Coaching.
Thank you, Lisa. And for listeners, I will see you, hear you, speak with you next week. Meanwhile, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless, and thank you, Lisa.